Good day, friends. Before moving on, just a few thoughts. One is, after the attunement, we've been holding what we call office hours, which is where people who wish can gather for a little while. If you have any questions or wish to share your experience, to have spiritual contemplation with fellow travelers, it's a time to do that. Here in Northern California, we're having a glorious rainy day. And I think we all know what the atmosphere of a rainy morning feels like. So we use the word attunement, which I think is a perfect word for what we're about here. And the prerequisite, or the first step in attuning, is to gather. And first, we gather ourselves. We become more here. It's interesting to observe how our presence, our here-ness, is like on a dimmer switch. We start off by saying, well, of course I'm here. I'm listening, I'm aware. But there's a whole spectrum of the intensity or brightness of awareness, of here-ness. So just see what happens as we have the intention of gathering ourselves into focused presence. Including, importantly, becoming aware of our sensory experience, listening, the sounds in your environment. Sensing your bodily sensations. Are the tips of your fingers warm or cold? And as we gather ourselves, become more of a whole fabric of presence. It's our practice here to also appreciate and be aware of our gathering as a group, to include the here-ness of each other. Which is more of a perception of the heart. And that our hearts may be sensitive so that in an authentic way, we can have this feeling of wishing each other well. I want to read you a passage by Hazrat Inayat Khan. He says, souls are born on earth imperfect, and they show that imperfection. And from this, they develop naturally toward perfection. If all were perfect, there would be no purpose to their creation. And manifestation has taken place so that every being here may rise from imperfection toward perfection. That is the object and joy of life. And for this, the world was created. And if we expected every person to be perfect and conditions to be perfect, then there would be no joy in living and no purpose in coming here. So this, quote, simple expression of our heart to wish each other well comes from a place where we're sensitive to the fact that each of us is on a journey, a journey that includes so many vicissitudes. Things we hope for, the thrill of experiencing our growth, our understanding increasing. We've probably all known sleepless nights of worry or self-doubt. It's no small matter to hang in there and keep our zest. Maybe you could just with your eyes scan a person or two on the screen. Perhaps pick someone you don't know. You don't have to do anything special, just a sense of well-wishing. Okay, so we've gathered a bit more. We've gathered ourselves. We've gathered together. Before moving on, I'd like to give what maybe be called one disclaimer. As we turn toward the subtle, delving into the subtle, into the spiritual, does not imply turning away from the world. It does not imply passivity in the affairs of life. That can be a continual confusion. What it does mean is an inclusion, including perception of the subtle realms and their significance. Not instead of material life. It's like we see this in medicine and health these days, that sometimes we need to treat medical conditions at the surface, at the level of symptoms. But there's also a lot of power in getting to and treating the root cause beneath the symptoms. And this is true in terms of the actions that make up human life, that we start to see that the content of our thoughts our assumptions give rise to behavior. And we see that the content of our thoughts come from a deeper source. And the more we're aware of the significance of our inner condition, the content of our thoughts and the condition of our hearts, the more responsible we feel, the more we have choice about our thoughts and feelings. Whereas before we couldn't have known how much these things matter. That my inner condition is being emitted, vibrating out, creating an atmosphere. A living transmission. So with this in mind, let's in a moment return to the passage that was on our screen at the beginning of our gathering together. And some of you may remember it's the same passage that was on our screens last week. And it stayed with me in the days since last week, and I thought, let's return to it. It's a passage by the ancient Sufi Macher. So let's just look at this. I remember seeing that passage 50 years ago. It's one of the first Sufi passages I ever saw, and I thought, what a nice thought. And then 50 years later, the implications and the task of making that real become much more known. For something to go from a nice thought into our cells. What brought this up for me this week is contact with friends over the course of the week about political and societal matters, and seeing how naturally and casually we can, and I use this word consciously, how naturally and casually we can hate those people we consider to be evil when we see a corrupt politician or the CEO of a company that doesn't seem to care how much damage they cause in the pursuit of wealth, etc. what a challenge it is to fulfill that passage by Abu Hare, to be like the sun for everyone. What it means is not that we approve of evil actions, not even that it doesn't mean we don't like the person who's committing evil, but it means we have our eyes on a different focus in which we have dedicated our lives to cultivating the God seed, the evolutionary possibility that is buried inside all souls. We may oppose what someone's doing with all our efforts, maybe even going to war. But inwardly, our eyes are on what is hidden, what is even unknown to that person about their essence. The inner light that is in all forms, the love that is in all beings, that has not manifest, that is buried. Anyone who's had the challenging blessing of raising a child through the teenage years, if those years were difficult, knows what it's like to love the potential in that soul, even when it's buried. So perhaps this week, if you feel inclined, we can just keep a sensitivity, an awareness to the ecology of our thoughts and feelings in the face of this imperfect world that has the potential toward greater beauty, the potential toward realized love, and see what our contribution is, the contribution of our thoughts and feelings toward this symphony. What note are we contributing? That we have conscious choice. That's part of our practice. We're almost out of time, but I thought we might end with one of the divine names, a mantric expression of this. There's a sacred word called fazel. And Fazl means blessing. And when we intone this with this awareness, we are putting out a benediction to humanity, a blessing to humanity, all humanity. So in intoning a word, one of the divine names, especially on Zoom where we can't hear the whole group and join in the chorus, in terms of hearing, try adding your voice. It's a creative act to broadcast your heart through sound rather than just listening. All you'll hear is me and hopefully yourself. Fazl, F-A-Z-L. So to warm up and begin, let's just, for a moment, intone the sound ah. So that's at the heart of the word Fazl, ah, which you can tell comes from the chest, from the heart. So let's just say that for a moment. And now moving closer toward the name, we'll just continue, but now say fa. Fa. Broadcasting our note with intention and with in the back of our mind, knowing the meaning of the word, which is blessing. A vibration goes out. Speaking to that which may be hidden in humanity, may be buried, that our note serves the awakening of that. So now, just for a few moments, we'll say Fazl. So this adds the Fazl, Fazl, like that, which gives it the vibration like a bell. So let's intone this together for a moment. Bum, 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 follow, fall. Now just listening and sensing for a moment. Amen. So it can be challenging to take humanity, all of humanity, into our arms. But if we wish to align with what Macher said, that becomes our practice. So, friends, good to be with you, really. And for those who wish to hang around for a few minutes, I'll have a piece of music, which is actually a continuation of the album we were listening to at the beginning. It's called Praises for the World. Bye-bye.
Jasmine breeze like incense in my hair.